Hey guys, and welcome to week 7. It's not, it's week 5. Hey guys, welcome to week 5. Hope you're all getting on okay in the lockdown and staying safe. Today we're going to look at chord tones. Or we're going to pick apart the information from that major scale. And we're going to look specifically at 4 notes within that scale. And it's going to be the first note, the third note, the fifth note, and the 7th note. So the reason that they're called chord tones, we looked at the major scale. So if you were going to play a major chord, you wouldn't play all of those notes in the scale together at the same time, because that would sound quite clashy. There's too many notes too close together. So you pick the information out of that scale that is going to sound like the chord. It's going to sound like a major chord. And the notes that we look at is the first, the third, and the 7th. We're going to add the 5th in as well. So it's first note, the third note, the 5th note, the 7th note of the major scale. And we're going to play them with the same hand positioning as if we were playing a major scale. So 1, 3, 5, 7. And if we're going to play 1, 3, and 7, there's a major 7 chord. So that's why they're called chord tones. And being able to find these notes within the scale that make the sound up of that chord, it's a really great thing to be able to do for showing up at jam sessions, or for soloing, or for coming up with bass lines. And one thing that's especially good for is walking bass lines. And walking bass lines is great in jazz and blues, which we'll come to in a minute. But we're going to look at these chord tones first, and then we'll go and talk about the walking bass lines. So that's the major 7. Arpeggio. So next we're going to look at the chord tones from a minor scale. And I know that we haven't done the minor scale yet, but I don't want to spend too much time just concentrating on scales. Because like I says, the most important thing to take out of this is being able to, if you were to go to a jam session throughout the summer, you'd be able to take some of this information, and this is all going to be stuff that is going to help you be able to jam along and come up with bass lines on the spot and on the fly, and do walking bass lines and jam along with other people. You're not going to show up to a jam session and show everybody how fast or clean you can do your scales. Even though I don't want to slip past the fact of how important learning your scales are, because all of this stuff all goes together. It's all part of one big portrait, and you've got to get all the information to put the picture together. But for the benefit of doing this short course during lockdown, we're going to just stick to the chord tones for now, and we'll be able to build walking bass lines and things around that. So we'll look at the minor chord and the chord tones. So we're going to look at D minor for this. And we're going to start with our third finger on the D, which is the 5th fret on the A string. We're then going to play our first finger on the 3rd fret in the D string, which is an F. Then we're going to slide up, move our whole hand position, and we're going to play the 7th fret on the D string with our 3rd finger. And then we're going to move up one more string and play the 5th fret on the G string with our 1st finger. And then the 7th fret with our 3rd finger, and that's the octave of the D. So that's 3rd finger, 1st finger, slide up to the 7th fret with the 7th finger, 5th fret with the first finger. Okay, so we would play the 1st, the 3rd, and the 7th note together. Okay, that's just an octave higher. You can hear how that sounds minor, sounds sad. Major, it's kind of happy and floaty. Minor, it's a little bit sad. So it's just getting used to playing those notes and using that fingering. At some point we'll be able to go on and look at different fingering. That's just one hand position. For a minor hand position, but there's also okay, there's a few different hand positions and you can find them all over the neck. And as you progress as a bass player, knowing all of these positions all across the fretboard is what's going to be able to open the doors to being able to do, some soloing and coming up with bass lines, and just knowing where you're going all around the fretboard. Having that mapped out is a great thing to do, and this is a great place to start, just with that hand position. So that's our minor chord tones. And now we're going to look at a G7. So a dominant 7 is another chord, and we're going to look at it in G. If we're going to play, imagine you're going to play a G major scale. So get set up into that hand position, have the second finger on the G. So there's a G major, and all we're going to do to turn that into a dominant 7. Now the clue's in the name, it's on the 7, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And rather than playing the major 7, we're going to drop that down a fret. We're going to flatten the 7, and that becomes a dominant 7. You can hear already that's a lot jazzier and bluesier. So same thing, we're going to look at the first note, the third note, the fifth note and the seventh note. So in that position, we're going to look 1, 3, 5, 7, and then of course the octave. Do the arpeggios just like that, not going up to the octave. You can if you want. Okay, so what we should have now is a C major, and we'll just do the arpeggios. Arpeggios is just it's like a broken chord. So we'll go major arpeggio, which is 1, 3, 5, 7, and down. And again. Okay. Now we'll do the minor, D minor arpeggio. G7 arpeggio. And then finish back on the C. So to do that as a little exercise, we'll do exactly that. We'll go around the C twice, the D minor twice, the G7 twice, and back to the C. So it goes something like this, and we'll do it nice and steady. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's our C major arpeggio. Move up to the D. Down to the G. And back to the C. So if we were going to play that like a chord pattern, okay, you can hear the 3 chords there. And you can hear how it goes major, minor, dominant 7. And it's just about getting those sounds into your ears. And it's not just that, but it's really feeling what notes within each of those chord tones is what makes that chord stand out as that chord. It's like if I was playing the major, that major 7, and the third. The same as the minor, you know it's a minor when you hear that minor third and the flat 7, the G7, major. Nope, there's that dominant 7. So when it comes to playing jazz, you know, already we're starting to sound like we're doing a walking bass line. I know that it just sounds like we're going up and down arpeggios, but really what we're doing is going. Okay, that's the basis of what a walking bass line is. It's navigating our way around those chord tones to build the structure of each chord for the soloist or for the melody or for the singer, whatever's going on top. And we do that by accenting those chord tones within our walking lines. And we're going to look exclusively at the dominant 7 chord, because when it comes to playing blues, a lot of jazz, dominant 7 chord features heavily, especially in 12-bar blues. And from experience, I know that if you're going to a jam session, the chances of you ending up playing a 12-bar blues all night is pretty high. So, but it's a great thing because it's easy to pick up the form. It's something that we can all get our hands around, and even if you've never met the guys before, you can go 12-bar blues in G, and we can all start playing that. And it's all built around that dominant 7 chord. So take your time to get your hands around those shapes and positions, and we'll look at some 12-bar blueses next week and start building on our walking bass lines and talk about. I want to use the 12-bar to talk about how we can start walking around these other chords as well. And yeah, have fun, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.